1978, a story circulated that a talking tortoise had predicted the downfall of Idi Amin Dada, the powerful Ugandan military dictator.
And when you tackle me, you can harm yourself. I think you should know this.
Though he seemed brave, the story terrified Amin to the bone marrow. He instantly changed bodyguards, traveling schedules and vehicles, and sleeping places. He controlled the army through frequent reorganization. He also kept his army happy by giving them tape recorders, expensive cars, rapid promotions, and businesses that had been owned by Asian traders. As fate would have it, Amin was toppled a year later in '79. In this story, we cast a light on one of Africa's most fascinating stories of all time. As president of Uganda from 1971 to 1979, Idi Amin became well known for his terrible violations of human rights, for causing the collapse of the country's economy, and for causing social disorganization. Amin is remembered best as the tyrant of Uganda, who was responsible for a reign filled with mass killings and disorder. Idi Amin Dada was born sometime between 1925 and 1927 in Kiboko, West Nile Province, in Uganda. His father was a Kakwa, a tribe that exists in Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Sudan. Amin spent much time as a boy, tending goats and working in the fields. He embraced Islam and attained a fourth-grade education. He was brought up by his mother, who abandoned his father to move to Lagotsi, Uganda. As Amin grew, he matched the qualifications for military service desired by the British at that time. He was tall and strong. He spoke the Kiswahili language. He also lacked a good education, which implied that he would take orders well. Joining the army as a private in 1946, Amin impressed his superiors by being a good swimmer, rugby player, and boxer. He won the Uganda Heavyweight Boxing Championship in 1951, a title he held for 9 years. He was promoted to corporal in 1949. During the 1950s, Amin fought against the Mau Mau African freedom fighters, who were opposed to British rule in Kenya. Despite his cruel record during the uprisings, he was promoted to sergeant in 1951, lance corporal in 1953, and sergeant major and platoon commander in 1958. By 1961, Amin had become one of the first 2 Ugandan officers with the rank of lieutenant. In 1962, Amin helped stop cattle rustling, or stealing, between neighboring ethnic groups in Karamoja, Uganda, and Turkana, Kenya. Because of the brutal acts he committed during these operations, British officials recommended to Apollo Milton Obote, Uganda's prime minister at the time, that he be brought to trial as a criminal. Obote instead publicly criticized him, deciding it would have been politically unwise to put on trial one of the 2 African officers just before Uganda was to gain independence from Britain on October 9, 1962. Thereafter, Amin was promoted to captain in 1962 and major in 1963. He was selected to participate in the commanding officers course at Wiltshire School of Infantry in Britain in 1963. In 1964, he was made a colonel. Amin's close association with Obote apparently began in 1965. Obote sympathized with the followers of the murdered Prime Minister of the Congo, Patrice Lumumba. Obote asked Amin for help in establishing military training camps. Amin also brought coffee, ivory, and gold into Uganda from the Congo so that the rebels there could have money to pay for arms. The opponents of Obote wanted an investigation into the illegal entry of gold and ivory into Uganda. Obote appointed a committee to look into the issue. He promoted Amin to Chief of Staff in 1966, and to Brigadier and Major General in 1967. By 1968, the relationship between Obote and Amin had gone sour. An attempted assassination of Obote in 1969, and Amin's suspicious behavior thereafter, further widened the gap between the two men. It is unclear why Obote promoted Amin in 1970 to become Chief of General Staff, a position that gave him access to every aspect of the armed forces. Amin overthrew Obote's government on January 25, 1971. Ugandans joyfully welcomed Amin. He was a larger-than-life figure and yet simple enough to shake hands with common people and participate in their traditional dances. He was charming, informal, and flexible. Amin was thought to be a nationalist, a person who supports his or her country above all else. His popularity increased when he got rid of Obote's secret police, freed political prisoners, and told Ugandans that he would hand power back to the people. During this period, Amin's other personality began to emerge, that of a merciless, unpredictable, cunning liar.
The Americans, I am accountable. These are lies.
His killer squads murdered Obote's supporters and 2 Americans who were investigating massacres, large-scale killings. It was becoming clear that Amin's seeming friendliness and clowning were only a mask to hide his brutality. In 1972, he savagely attacked the Israelis and the British, with whom he had been friendly. He did not like that these countries would not sell him weapons. Once Muammar Gaddafi of Libya agreed to help, Amin immediately threw Israelis and 50,000 Asians out of Uganda.
Actually, I took this decision for the economy of Uganda. And I must make sure that every Ugandans get a fruit of independence. Since independent, actually Uganda is not yet independent, I will say that.
Uganda's economy was wrecked because Asian traders were suddenly forced to leave. The action also earned Amin a poor international image. Amin used violence and terror to eliminate his real and imaginary enemies. The human cost of Amin's rule was huge, not only in terms of the loss of thousands of Ugandans, but also because of its dehumanizing, making people feel less than human, effects. Human life had become less important than wealth. Most government funds were devoted to the armed forces and to Amin's safety. Health, transport, production of food and cash crops, easily marketable crops, industrial and manufacturing sectors, and foreign investments were neglected. Despite his growing poor reputation, Amin was elected chairman of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, an organization of African nations, on July 28, 1975. In 1977, African countries blocked a United Nations resolution that would have condemned Amin for his gross violation of human rights. By the late 1970s, Amin's luck was running out. The economy was getting worse. Arabs were concerned about Amin's failure to show how Uganda was becoming an Islamic nation, but also concerned about his killing of fellow Muslims. It was becoming difficult for Amin to import luxury goods for his army. To distract attention from the country's internal crises, Amin ordered an invasion of Tanzania in October 1978, supposedly because the latter planned to overthrow his government. Amin's army was forced back. Tanzanians and exiled Ugandan soldiers then invaded Uganda and continued their pursuit of Amin until his government was overthrown on April 11, 1979. Amin fled to Libya but later moved to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where died in 2003. Let us know what you think of this story and our style in the comments section below. You can also kindly subscribe and click the notifications so as not to miss similar content. Thank you for choosing La Josa Movies.